What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Sports Talk with Elite Wagers. I'm your host, Elite Wagers, and this is NFL Week 8. Profit through the first 7 weeks so far this season. Had some nice fantasy lineups as well over on FanTeam. Haven't been able to crack the money placements just yet, but we are around and about just one or two picks that aren't sort of getting it for us. This week is going to change. I've got a really good feeling that we're going to get some good high-scoring players in fantasy this week. Before I get into it, obviously, I want to send you all over to my Twitter. Make sure you're all following. Same for YouTube and Spotify. Make sure you're subscribed over there. It's all free, and you won't miss an episode if you turn the notification bell on. But as you can see, obviously, I've posted a few plays this morning. The weekend-long parlay, which I normally do. Posted this morning, and then obviously Thursday Night Football posted yesterday. A few NBA bets as well, which I'll be posting. So if you don't want to miss anything that isn't going to be on the pod, make sure you're following over on Twitter. So let's get into the FanTeam fantasy contest, the Sunday Red Zone contest for NFL Week 8, £7,000 prize pool as of right now. And here is the team that I'm going to be playing. So we're going to start off with the quarterback position. Obviously, I've gone for Joe Flacco. There's a number of decent options you can go for the quarterback position this week. Myself, I decided to sort of go for a little bit more of a budget pick. These players obviously at the top are very, very good and have some decent kind of matchups and things. But for me, Joe Flacco playing the New York Jets. The Jets haven't been too good defensively so far this season. Haven't yet won a game, so they've allowed a lot of teams to be able to play against them. And Joe Flacco, he's done a decent job since he joined the Bengals as well. He's only had 2 games, but as you can see, 18 points, 25 points. So against the Packers, 219 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns and a 2-point conversion. And then against the Steelers, 343 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns. So he has done a sufficient job. And obviously since he's been there, the Bengals have played a lot better as a unit since he's been quarterback, really. So I think he's going to have a decent game. I think the Bengals are going to have a nice game against this New York Jets, who aren't playing too well at the moment. And then we're going to double him up with Ja'Marr Chase. Obviously, Ja'Marr Chase, one of the best receivers in the league. Hasn't had sort of too many decent games. Obviously, that 36-point game right down the bottom against Jacksonville was a huge one. In that one, what did he have? 165 receiving yards, 14 receptions and 1 touchdown. That's just insane. But as I said, since Joe Flacco's been there, 25 points, 38 points, 94 receiving yards, 10 receptions, 1 receiving touchdown, and then another 161 plus yard game, 1 receiving touchdown and 16 receptions. So he's the main man for Joe Flacco, and obviously he's fully capable of being able to handle all that pressure. So Ja'Marr Chase and Joe Flacco are going to be my pairing for my double stack this week. Pittman is going to be in the team as well. 5 receiving touchdowns so far this year, averaging 50 passing yards per game. As you can see there, 58 points, 58 passing yards last week. Receiving yards, last week, 7 receptions. But he is, his form, 14 fantasy points averaging per game. But as you can see, he's had over that in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 7 games so far this season. Adding on to that a little bit as well, Dan Jones has been known to be able to throw into the fourth quarter, even in wins. So obviously they're huge 14-point favourites against the Titans this week. And we've seen a lot of blowouts. Obviously, another one was this matchup a few weeks ago. But Dan Jones does continue to throw the ball into the fourth quarter despite winning by a lot of points. Obviously, the Colts are the number 1 offense, and the Titans are fairly terrible. They're on par with the Jets for one of the worst teams in the league so far this year. So I'm going to go for Michael Pittman to continue his touchdown dominance. And then with that, we're going to go for Sterling Shepard. So This one seems a little bit outside the box, but only one receiving touchdown, averaging 38 receiving yards per game. As you can see, there's had 7 or more fantasy points in 5 out of 7 games. This pick is mainly due to the injury woes for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Obviously, Chris Godwin with his knee is nowhere near sort of ready. Mike Evans is now out as well. You've got Egbuka, who's a really, really good receiver for the Bucs, but he is going to get a lot of attention, which should leave sort of Tez Johnson and Sterling Shepard wide open. And when you look at Sterling Shepard, he does have a lot of targets. 7 receptions last week. 2 receptions the week before, 50 yards, and then again another 4 receptions. So he does have a nice amount of receptions and targets. I think he's second in the team for targets and receptions. So that shows that he's sort of a reliable figure for Baker Mayfield. So I'm going to go for Sterling Shepard to pair with Pittman and Jamar Chase. We'll move on to the tight end position. Again, tight end position is one of those positions that I want to sort of save a bit of money on. There's a lot of high-priced players. Even Dawson Knox's teammate in Kincaid is almost double Dawson Knox's price. Kincaid is questionable heading into this one, but I'm going to go for Dawson Knox anyway. In games with Kincaid, Dawson Knox has been found a few times. Obviously, no sort of high scoring games kind of thing for Dawson Knox, but he is sort of a reliable figure for Josh Allen. Last week without Kincaid, 1 receiving touchdown, 19 yards, 1 reception, 2 receptions the week before. So he's getting minimal usage. But I think if Kincaid is out for this week, that's a nice pickup with a nice price budget. Obviously, trying to save a little bit of money for the big 3 at the running back position, which we'll get onto now. So Bijan Robinson is my running back 1. 4 total touchdowns this year, averaging 87 rushing yards with 65 receiving yards, so well over 100 scrimmage yards, averaging 5 receptions as well. As you can see, form there is 24. And he's actually got 24 or more in 3 of the last 6 games, but he's over 20 in 4, 19 and 16 being the other 2. So he's very, very reliable. This rushing offense is very, very good. And they now do face the Miami Dolphins, who are one of the worst rushing defenses in the league. And as a matter of fact, they actually allow the most rushing yards to opposing running backs and the 3rd most rushing scores this year. So I think Bijan Robinson and the Falcons are going to have a very, very good game. I think he's going to get a lot of the ball. Obviously 7-point favourites as well, which should replicate running the ball quite a lot. And again, he's been used a lot in the receiving game with 65 yards on average with 5 receptions per game too. So I think Bijan Robinson is going to run for a high amount of points this week. And my running back 2 is going to be Jonathan Taylor, as I mentioned a minute ago with Pittman. This Colts is the number 1 offense this year. He's got 10 rushing touchdowns so far this year, 1 receiving. He's averaging well over 1 touchdown per game, averaging 3 receptions per game with 99 rushing yards, 26 receiving yards. Again, similar to Bijan Robinson, heavy favourites in this one. Should see a lot of the ball. Especially with them being favourites, and obviously Dan Jones does like to throw, but Jonathan Taylor does see a lot of the ball. Form is 27 fantasy points per game. The last 3 games have seen him have 23 or more. He's at 30 3 times this season as well, with another 29.5 game. Adding to that a little bit as well, he scored 3 touchdowns in 3 separate games this year. This is one of those games that you could see him doing it again. He did it a couple of weeks ago against the Titans. But yeah, I think Jonathan Taylor is a very solid pickup. He's very pricey, 20 million. He's the most expensive running back on the board. But I don't think there's anyone else in this game this week that's going to score more points. And then that leads me to the last running back that I'm going to pick, and that's going to be Derrick Henry. Coming off a bye week, there's a lot of talk that a lot of the main players for the Ravens are going to be back. But 4 rushing touchdowns for Derrick Henry so far this year. 73 rushing yards, 7 receiving yards, so around 80 scrimmage yards in total. Last week went for over 100 rushing yards. He hasn't actually been able to do that often this year, only twice this year. But, they should get a lot of players back from injury. Lamar Jackson should be back and off a bye week, so extra rest week, extra time to figure things out for this offense for this week. And they do now face the Bears, who allow the 5th most rushing yards to running backs per game. So again, at this price, $12 million for Derrick Henry, $12.8 million. I think that's a very, very solid pickup, and it could be considered a bit of a value play as well. I think he's very, very cheap. But again, these 3 running backs paired with Chase and Pittman, Shepard being the outsider, and Flacco, of course, being the outsider. Not many people are going to be picking Flacco, so I'm taking a punt on that one. And then we're going to go for the 49ers defense. Obviously, a very solid defensive unit playing the Houston Texans, classed as an easy difficulty game. History, form is only at 4, but this is a solid unit. Obviously, with Bosa, Wagner, all over the players, all over the lineup, and all over the defense. 9 sacks, 7 fumble recoveries, 1 blocked kick. They've been able to sort of limit teams to a reasonable amount of points. And then, in addition to that, the Houston Texans haven't been playing their best football so far this year either. I think it's an ideal spot for the 49ers to try and get back and get some more wins in their column. So this is the lineup that I'm going with. The 49ers defense: Robinson, Henry, and Taylor at running back, Joe Flacco quarterback, Jamar Chase, Pittman, and Shepard as wide receivers, with Dawson Knox in the tight end position. And then while we're here, let's go to the sportsbook and let's get on to some bets that I'm playing this weekend. Haven't got too many as of yet, but I am sort of trying to keep it a little bit shorter, trying to find the winners rather than go for the volume of bets. I'm trying to find the better options. So starting off with the team bets. Let's see. So we're going to actually go back to the 49ers that I mentioned a minute ago, and we're going to go for them on the money line. Plus 110. Again, I think their defense is very, very good. Houston Texans defense is not very good. Offensively, haven't been very good either. Nico Collins is questionable with a concussion. If he's out, I expect this line to move a little bit more towards a pick-em. But when you've got Christian McCaffrey playing as well as he's playing, I think he's going to be very difficult for the Houston Texans to stop. And I think the 49ers are going to look for this game to be a win in their win column. And while we're talking about Christian McCaffrey, we are going to go with McCaffrey's receiving yards. Where is he? His receiving yards, which aren't actually on here yet. Obviously, you can get that on Bet365. 50 receiving yards is at plus 125, and obviously he's done that in a few games this season. Like I said a minute ago, he's averaging a lot on the ground, a lot through the air. If they can't get him going on the ground, they're going to be able to get him going through the air. So I think it's a no-brainer pick for basically for the 49ers to use Christian McCaffrey as much as possible. The next one is going to be the New York Giants, which are here, and we're going to go for them on the handicap, and it's going to be plus 8. You can get plus 8. Where is it? There it is, plus 8, minus 120. Basically fading the Eagles. The Eagles haven't been very good this year. They've struggled to cover a minus 8 against majority of teams this year. The Giants have been able to stay competitive in a lot of games. Obviously only 2 wins, but have been able to stay competitive in a lot of games throughout this year. Obviously Scatterbo coming up as a really nice running back and a nice addition. Even with Neighbors on out through injury, the Eagles have been able to sort of stick around. Lost by 1 point last week against the Broncos. Actually beat the Eagles a few weeks ago, 34-17. Beat the Chargers as well, 21-18. So they have been able to stick around. The Eagles have struggled a little bit. Haven't covered a -8 since the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 4 weeks ago. So yeah, again, it's another divisional rivalry. The return of Saquon Barkley as well. I think the Giants are going to try and shut him down and shut down the Eagles. And I think they can. I think they can keep this within 8. So we're going to go for the New York Giants +8. The next one that we've got is going to be in the Colts game. And it's going to be a tricky one. Obviously, the money line is juiced. It's -14. But we're actually going to go for the Colts on their team total. And I've actually got their team total down at 29.5 on Ladbrokes, but I like 31 anyway. 31's fine. But I'm going to go for the 29.5 over on Ladbrokes. That's at -130. So a little bit juiced. But again, this is another one of those mismatch kind of games. The Colts have been able to score 30 or more in majority of their games this season. In fact, they've actually done it in 1, 2, 3 straight games. 4 out of the last 5, including a 41-point display against the Titans a few weeks ago. The Titans have allowed they allowed the Patriots last week 31 points. So defensively, haven't been very solid, and this offense is very, very tough to stop. So I think this is a no-brainer pick for 30 or more points for the Colts. We're going to go with the Steelers and Packers game. Obviously, I'm a Packers fan, so it'd be hard not to pick the Packers to win. Packers -3 is intriguing, but again, I'm going to go for another team total. And I'm actually going to go for the Packers team total over 23. They've consistently been scoring around 27 points. Let me just get the game up here. But they've consistently been scoring around 27 points per game. In fact, they've actually done it in 3 straight games where they've got 27, 27 and 40. And then again, they got 27 against the Commanders. For 4 of the last 5 games have had 27 or more points. The Steelers, they allowed the Bengals 33 points. They also allowed the Seahawks 31 points a few weeks ago as well in their 2 losses that they had in the last 5 games. Revenge game for Aaron Rodgers, but I don't think it's going to come down to that. I think it's going to be more of a Packers showing that they're happy with their quarterback in Jordan Love. So I think Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs and co are going to be able to keep this one going. 23 or more points for the Packers. And then we're going to move down to another player prop before we go on to Monday Night Football. One of my favourite player props, actually, I just mentioned it a minute ago, with Derrick Henry. Where's that game? There's that game. Derrick Henry, and we're going to go for him to rush for 100 yards, and that's going to be at +115. You can get that a little bit higher if you shop around, but fan team's got the competitive odds and nice lines there. So Henry obviously got 122 last week. He's had 100 only twice so far this season, but last year he was very, very consistently getting 100 or more rushing yards. Like I said, they are playing the Bears, who are one of the worst rushing teams defensively. They actually allow the 5th most rushing yards per game. So I think Derrick Henry with Lamar Jackson, a few more pieces coming back from injury, we'll be able to get this done. So Derrick Henry over 100 rushing yards. And then finally, we're going to go down to the Chiefs and the Commanders game on Monday Night Football. Chiefs are 12.5 point favourites. I've actually got I've actually got it a little bit higher. Where is it there? I've got 13.5 for the Commanders at -120. So I'm going to go with the Commanders. There was a huge thing going on last year. The Chiefs struggled to beat teams by 10 or more points, by 7 or more points. And I would say it's sort of a thing again for this year, but the Chiefs have actually played fairly well so far this year. They shut out the Raiders last week, 31-0. They beat the Lions 30-17. Beat the Ravens 37-20 as well, and beat the Giants 9-22. So winning by around 13 points in a few of those games. But the Commanders, despite last week's huge loss against the Cowboys 22-44, they've actually been able to cover a +13 in all of the other games. Marcus Mariota is looking likely to be the starter for this game, and I don't mind that at all. I think a lot of teams will have looked at the Commanders and sort of figured out a way to stop Jaden Daniels. But Marcus Mariota, he does have a high ceiling. He is a fairly decent quarterback. He can also run the ball as well. And I think they'll be just fine with him at quarterback. So I'm going to actually back them to stay within 2 touchdowns. And I'm going to go Commanders plus 13.5. As well as that, I'm going to have a touchdown parlay. 3 players. I'm taking them all as singles. James Cook, again, playing against the Ravens. Is it the Ravens? Let's have a quick look. I'm sure they're playing against the Ravens. I like him whoever he plays against, to be honest. Yeah, no, against the Panthers. Sorry, the Panthers. They've come out of a bye week themselves. They're 7-point favourites against the Panthers. In a similar spot where he was a 7-point favourite last year, he averaged around 1.2 touchdown per game. So I think he can get in for a touchdown. We're going to go for Tyler Algier as well. Obviously, I mentioned Bijan Robinson a minute ago. I think his partner in crime is going to be able to get in there as well. He's a very, very good running back. Again, he faces the team that allow the most rushing yards and the 3rd most rushing touchdowns this year. He already has 3 touchdowns this year, does Tyler Algier. And for him to be plus 150, I'll take that all day long. James Cook was minus 140. And then I'm going to go for George Pickens. I went from last week. Didn't actually get one, but he had 4 in 4 straight before that. Playing against the Broncos. Broncos, obviously, defense is very, very good. But CeeDee Lamb is back, so he's going to draw a lot of attention, which is going to lead Pickens open a little bit more. With that being said, he is a very, very good wide receiver anyway. Just having a look here, hang on, at the matchup for this game. The Cowboys and the Broncos. Yeah, so George Pickens has got 5 touchdowns in the last 5 games, where he had 4 straight. His receiving has been obviously very good too. He's had 68, 134, 57, 168 and 82. So he's getting a high volume of looks as well. And I think, if anyone's going to be able to score a touchdown in this game, it's going to be through the air. Obviously, Dak Prescott going to be throwing the ball a lot. And yeah, I think the touchdown for George Pickens is inevitable. So you can get that at plus 210. So nice plus money on that one. If you parlay them all, you'll get plus 1200. And that's where we're going to be for this weekend. Okay. So as I mentioned, I'm going to have a few more bets throughout this weekend. Obviously, it's a little bit early on Friday. So I will be playing probably a player prop parlay, probably 4 players for some nice return on that one. Maybe 1 or 2 more bets in terms of player props or team props. But if you do not want to miss those, obviously, again, like I said, make sure you head over to my Twitter, make sure you're following, jump over to YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music. Make sure you're following and subscribing over on those platforms as well, so you do not miss a single bet that I post. And obviously, as I mentioned before, I have already posted my weekend-long parlay. Consists of 5 teams or 5 different legs from 5 sports from the course of the weekend. The Dodgers, Aspinall moneyline, Verstappen fast qualifier, Man City moneyline, the Packers moneyline. I will be playing a few more bets, as I mentioned, probably a player prop parlay. So make sure you are following. Make sure you have the notifications on so you do not miss a single bet. Good luck to anyone playing fantasy this week over on FanTeam. Good luck to anyone who's betting. Obviously, make sure you take a look at FanTeam Sportsbook as well. And yeah, let's get it. Good luck to everyone. And I'll be back next week. So I'll catch you later.